Okay, we're going to go over the whole upper extremity. In this part, second part will be lower extremity. I want you to use, in this video, we're primarily going to point to the structures of the muscles. Maybe we'll go over some origins and insertions, and then I'll mention their actions, but you'll have to go to the first video to see what the actions are. So let's start with the deltoid. The deltoid has an anterior fiber, a middle fiber, and a posterior fiber. Flexes the shoulder, extends the shoulder, abducts the shoulder. When we dissect it, we can then see the rotator cuff muscles. Here's the spine of the scapula, so that's the supraspinatus, infraspinatus, and teres minor, S-I-T, and we say they're the sits muscles, so that last S is in the front, that's the subscapularis. Their actions are AB, EX, EX, IN. Abduction, external rotation, internal rotation. Here's the triceps. It's in the back of the arm. This is the long head of the tricep that pierces between teres minor and teres major. Remember, teres minor is a rotator cuff, not teres major. The triceps has 3 heads. All 3 heads insert onto the ulna at the olecranon process. Their primary action is elbow extension. Because the long head crosses the shoulder joint, it originates on the supraglenoid tubercle, right above the glenoid cavity. It too can extend the shoulder. The antagonistic muscle to the triceps are the bicep muscle. Bi means 2 because there's a short head, and a long head. The long head originates on the supraglenoid tubercle. The long head of the triceps originates on the infraglenoid tubercle. Again, long head of the biceps originates on the supraglenoid tubercle. Long head of the triceps originates on the infraglenoid tubercle. I think the first time I mentioned that I may have said it wrong, so I'm correcting myself now. The short head of the bicep originates on the coracoid process of the scapula. The bicep crosses the shoulder and it crosses the elbow joint. When we think of the biceps brachii, its primary action is elbow flexion, and it does its strongest in the supinated position. It can also flex the shoulder since it crosses the shoulder. So it flexes the elbow, it supinates the elbow or forearm, and flexes the shoulder. What are the other 2 elbow flexors? If we take off the biceps brachii, brachium means arm, here's the brachialis. It flexes the elbow. And the third is the brachioradialis. It's the only muscle in the body that originates at the distal end of one bone and goes to the distal end of another, brachioradialis. It goes from the brachium, which is the arm, the lateral epicondyle, and inserts on the styloid process of the radius, brachioradialis. Those are the 3 elbow flexors. We call them the B's. Biceps brachii, the brachialis, and the brachioradialis. When we look at the forearm, if you take your thenar pad of one hand and place it over your medial epicondyle and display 4 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will look like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. All 4 of these muscles originate on the medial epicondyle at the area called the flexor common flexor tendon. The common flexor tendon. Pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, the one going through the center of the palm over the flexor retinaculum, or transverse carpal ligament, or volar ligament, they're all the same thing, that's the palmaris longus. And the third is the flexor carpi ulnaris. Pronator teres, flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, flexor carpi ulnaris. They all act on the wrist except for the pronator teres. The pronator teres pronates the forearm, while the other three flex the wrist. And when you make a fist and you flex the wrist, you can start to see some of the tendons. You can see here is the flexor carpi radialis, palmaris longus, and near the pisiform, the flexor carpi ulnaris. When we turn to the posterior side, at the lateral epicondyle, there's the extensor digitorum muscle. And the extensor digitorum extends digits 2, 3, 4, and 5. The other two muscles on the extensor side that attach or originate on the common extensor tendon area on the lateral epicondyle is the extensor carpi radialis longus and extensor carpi radialis brevis, and those are these two muscles here. So when you grab your forearm, if we make a muscle and we grab the meat right here, we call this the mobile wad of 3. The mobile wad of 3. It's 3 muscles. It's the brachioradialis and extensor carpi radialis longus and brevis right here. Okay. 2 other muscles that I wanted to do on the anterior side are the finger flexors. There's the flexor digitorum superficialis and the flexor digitorum profundus. Deep to the flexor retinaculum are tendons that go to digits 2, 3, 4, and 5. The superficial one is the flexor digitorum superficialis. If you take a close-in shot, you can see the tendon right at the middle phalange, how it splits and creates a V. It does it here, it does it here, and it does it here. So that's the flexor digitorum superficialis. It inserts on the middle phalange, it creates this little V. And through the slit at each of these, the other tendon, the deeper one, passes through it and goes right to the distal phalange. These tendons are the flexor digitorum profundus. So superficialis is superficial, it inserts on the middle phalange, and flexor digitorum profundus goes right to the very end. Those are the muscles that allow your digits to flex. Okay, I think that brings a close to the muscles of the upper extremity. If I have time, I'll just talk about 2 other areas because it's kind of interesting. Here is the thenar pad muscles, and here are the thenar pad muscles. We call them OAF, OAF, opponens pollicis, abductor pollicis brevis, and flexor pollicis brevis. OAF, OAF. The interesting thing that I wanted you to know about this is that they're innervated by the median nerve. So that the median nerve travels deep to the flexor retinaculum in the carpal tunnel. And if there's a compression to it, you can get symptoms to 3.5 fingers. 1, 2, 3, and half of the ring finger. Obviously, it would be the half that's closer to the other 3. You can get paresthesia, pins and needles, or lightning pain to those 3.5 fingers. And when it's really severe, these muscles here of the thumb, these muscles here atrophy and they waste away. I just wanted to bring that interesting point out to you. All right, I think that brings a close to the upper extremity, and stay tuned for part 2, which will be the lower extremity.